is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, I'm Sabrina Brown. Welcome to our extended post-hurricane coverage. Thank you for joining us. Hurricane Matthew is now far away from the Bahamas, but evidence of his time here are ever present. The powerful storm clobbered Grand Bahama, leaving a trail of destruction. Many communities have been hit hard, some homes left with severe damage, and some residents with just the clothes on their backs. The community of West End is among the hardest hit. Tonight, residents are recalling what they regard as the worst storm to hit Grand Bahama. Shashina Roll reports.
The front road in the West End community impassable as conch shells as big as this one spread for miles. As we take a look at this house to the right, you can see that the windows are out. Trees are everywhere, downed power lines, and residents taking a look at their community this morning, they say they are in disbelief. They say that their community may be damaged, but their spirit is not broken. The stories are daunting and heart-wrenching. Many residents in the home of hospitality left without a home. Among them, Patrick Grant and his 9-month-old pregnant girlfriend, who recall how Hurricane Matthew has changed their lives forever.
Around 12 o'clock, at least yesterday evening, watched the water coming over the seawall, right? Then we look, we see the water keep coming higher and higher. Around 10 o'clock last night, when I look, I hear blue sky. My friend, when they came in, I look, the water was high as my window. Coming through, when that big surge come, it bust all my glass from my bed and everything is floating. I had to bust my side door open and try and make it to my nephew house in the back, cause it up on slugs, which you know water's getting in it. Everything in my house, bust through on my zinc, everything bust through the wall. My stove, my gas was in my bedroom.
The damage to the quaint community unbelievable, from dead fish on the ground that came from the surge to many personal belongings all over the road. Owner of Cheva's Kung Stand says his stand no longer remains, but he is positive that that situation won't be permanent. He says his home has been severely damaged and remains in awe at the destruction of this storm.
Terrible. I walked from the hotel straight up, and the houses and the roof and the other rest of the houses was on them still what he has built. They was gone. Some of them Federico house, I see in the back by Miss Jenny. At the doctor clinic, Dr. Fernandez, his roof gone. I mean, it's terrible.
For business owner Van Boden, the owner of a convenience store and laundromat, he was at a loss of words when he arrived and saw what was left.
Well, I was very saddened, but nothing else I could do, but just thank God for life. And one day maybe I'll just work slowly and try to get my business back together.
Many have questioned why residents in West End did not evacuate. Some say they prefer to brave the storm. Others say they simply had nowhere to go. For James Roker, who lost his home as one of the oldest trees in the neighborhood was uprooted, he says he now realizes that the decision to stay wasn't a wise one, as he witnessed a surge like never before.
There was a lot of water. I mean, there was more water than you could ever imagine.
How high did the water come?
From the normal level, it probably came about 5 to 6 feet above the normal level. Okay, and I mean we were actually up to chest height with water. You know, just to get we was trying to get the generator started, but we realized that was probably a bad idea. But we was up to probably chest level, even to the back of the yard, where the debris wouldn't get to us.
Resident Ian Neely, too, suffered significant damage. He believes that there must be some changes after the storm. James Culmer is optimistic that even after the destruction, the people of West End will rise again.
All I know, the building code has to change for West End, you know. Or they have to use whoever the inspectors are. If they build houses on stilts again or whatever the case may be, they have to make sure, inspect, and make sure that things are properly done. Because this right here, I call this highway robbery, you know. Because this not only these 3 houses on stilts, I passed 2 others down the street. All of them blew right off the stilts.
This is really rough on the community. I mean, destruction everywhere. But we don't get down. You know, we will bounce back. People will rise back. We will repair. We will live on.
Shashina Roll, ZNS Network News.
Concerned about the level of damage heaped on the Grand Bahama by Hurricane Matthew, the nation's leader, the Right Honorable Perry Christie, led a delegation to Grand Bahama to assess the extent of damage. The Prime Minister was taken on a tour of the storm-ravaged communities that ended in West End. Italia Hall was there.
The Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Perry Christie, along with his delegation, landed on Grand Bahama on Saturday afternoon shortly after leaving the island of Andros. From the airport, he traveled the streets of Grand Bahama and made his final stop in the western end. He says persons in New Providence, Andros, and Grand Bahama have suffered enormous loss. Prime Minister Christie says in the aftermath of a hurricane, the government provides exigency orders which will allow residents to bring in relief supplies duty-free.
We're trying to encourage the stores, hardware stores in our islands to be able to give people the same discounted rate, and we will be able to work that out with them so that they are able to buy locally if it is available here, to be able to help them. But we are facing a situation where there are many people, hundreds if not thousands, who have experienced great damage and who may be unable to meet the costs of repair, even if you did give them duty-free provisions.
Christie says Bahamians and persons abroad will be working together.
When we see the damage to the utility poles here on Grand Bahama, we know that we're going to have to bring in a significant number of personnel. We have given permission already for the importation of equipment and personnel from the United States of America for Grand Bahama towards restoring their electricity.
And in regards to funding, the Prime Minister says the government will be handicapped if they have to rely on the existing budget to provide funding that will be needed for restoration.
The government therefore has to resort to an innovation when it comes to funding for hurricane relief by being able to float a hurricane bond, and where we would ask the commercial banks to subscribe to that bond, where that is a separate entity, separate funds raised for the purpose of being able to apply those funds to relief in those islands that have been affected.
He also indicated that the Minister of Labor, Shane Gibson, will be responsible for bringing the country back to normalcy.
Persons who have been through it before, and from looking at the expressions on their faces, even though they're disappointed, they hurt, they're devastated, you can see that they have that fighting spirit. And so, we are here to make sure that we help them as much as possible in rebuilding their lives. It's going to take time. For the first time, while trying to deal with these through the Family Islands, we also have to deal with Nassau. And so it's going to be a difficult road ahead of us, but the fact is we've been through it before. We know what it takes to get the results, and of course we're here to strengthen the systems already put in place by Captain Russell and NEMA.
Captain Stephen Russell of NEMA was also on hand, and he says the relief program is in full force.
We're going to connect with the hardware stores that are here on the ground. We're going to open accounts and get food supplies moving to those districts here. So once you connect with persons and the proprietors of the stores, we can move supplies and water supplies to the areas, to these areas.
Leader of the opposition, Dr. Hubert Minnis, traveled along with the Prime Minister and his assessment team as well.
I think we must now start to rebuild. And in rebuilding, communities must come together and assist also, and we must work together as one, as a team.
The nation's leader says no longer can Bahamians wait for hurricanes to have a conversation about it, adding that it will now be a year-long conversation because it's about preparing persons, survival, and being able to live in peace. Reporting for ZNS Network News, I'm Italia Hall.
Hurricane Matthew flattened many homes, destroyed some businesses, and altered the landscape in many communities on Grand Bahama. While on that tour in West End on Saturday, Managing Director of the Public Hospitals Authority, Herbert Brown, revealed that the clinic in West End sustained serious damage as a result of Hurricane Matthew.
Regrettably, we would have lost the temporary facilities, and so as we speak, that is a challenge, but I am presently reviewing a number of options, and it is expected that within the next 2 days or so, we should be in a position to have identified a facility where we would be able to relocate our temporary clinic. It is expected, however, that our clinic here in West End, the ones presently under construction, will be completed by the end of November, and so the temporary facility will be for a very short period of time.
CEO of the Bahamas Telecommunications Company, Leon Williams, acknowledging that they are having some challenges, but he says they are working along with other partners to keep the lines of communication intact.
When I was in Nassau last night, I only knew of the Lucayan office being compromised and the Cacharina Bridge. But as we drove down this afternoon, I note there are a number of towers starting at the Fishing Over Road all the way into Boodle Bay. And as we're here now, there's no service. The equipment will be on the plane tomorrow, and the riggers will be on the plane tomorrow to get the antennas fixed. The fiber splices will be here to fix the fiber, and then after that it's a matter of getting power. So it seems like a very long time before power comes here. So BTC will supplement the power by having regenerations. My understanding is there's some 700 poles that has to be replaced by Freeport Power. Our cables are attached to those poles. So until those poles get up, we will splice the cable and leave it on the ground until such time.
Prior to the Prime Minister's tour of West End, local authorities held a press briefing. Minister for Grand Bahama, the Honorable Dr. Michael Darville, outlines restoration efforts now underway.
So I'm pleased of where we are today. We have a lot more work to be done, but my main concern is to bring relief to the residents of Grand Bahama, particularly those who have been affected the most, and they are the poor, they are the indigent, and they are the ones who have been displaced. So I'm so pleased that we have 2 shelters up and going. We have the 8 Mile Rock shelter, we have the St. George's shelter, and we anticipate more individuals will be coming to those shelters where social service, urban renewal will be there to do the necessary assessment and for us to find temporary residence for these individuals who are completely displaced. Grand Bahama has been strong. I am pleading once again to the residents of Grand Bahama to stay together, to display that brotherly love and that sort of unity that we come together during these elements of tragedy.
Deputy Director of Urban Renewal Michelle Rackley giving the assurance that the agency will do all in its power to help residents in their struggle to a state of normalcy.
Urban Renewal is out there doing their part, and we will do it exactly as we are mandated to. And to the leader of the opposition, it's good to see you here. I'm working hand in hand. Mr. Boxer Minnis is working with me to assist persons bringing in information, and we together are assisting as much people as we can. You know, this is a disaster, and disaster has no name or color on it. And for this government, all will get help, and the kind of professional help that is needed, because this storm came, like I said, most of the lives in Grand Bahama has been touched. Almost every home, almost every family. So this is no time to play games or to play politics or social media freaks running on with foolishness. This is absolutely not the time.
After the storm's relentless attack on Grand Bahama, NEMA officials mounted an assessment team to survey the damage left in the wake of Hurricane Matthew. The ZNS News team traveled with police officials and members of the Disaster Management Committee as they conducted their initial assessment of the island. The first stop was at the airport. Then it was on to the Queens Cove community, and surprisingly, those areas located on the north side did not experience heavy flooding this time around. The tour took us to Queens Highway, onto the Fishing Hole Road, and then to the Freeport Harbor. Officials also got a first-hand view of the damage in the Southern District. Officer in charge of the Northern Bahamas, Emmerich Seymour.
You would have seen nothing but down power lines, extensive damages, down power lines, down trees, throughout the thing, structural damages, roofs and everything would have been blown off. So far, there was no report of loss of lives or serious injuries. Thank God for that.
With so many downed power lines around the island, the police chief is advising residents of the dangers that now exist on the streets of Grand Bahama.
We want to continue to remind members of the motoring public, please, there are down trees, there are down power lines all over the street. We want them to listen. If you don't have any reason to be on the street, please stay away. Stay off the street until such time as the road are clean to the extent where it makes it possible for the motoring public.
There are also reports of looting in the aftermath of Hurricane Matthew.
We've had at least 2 instances of business establishments that were damaged by the hurricane, and of course unsuspecting persons really was taking advantage of them looting certain stores. As a result, we have our officers all over the streets of Grand Bahama. We're posting them at those particular places that need safeguarding until such time as the owners can come and of course safeguard them. But we want to send a stern warning out to those persons. Please, you ought not be taking advantage of this situation. Anybody we find, they will be arrested, and the full brunt of the law will be made and brought against those persons.
Administrator for East Grand Bahama, Harvey Roberts, gave an update on how residents of that district made it through the storm.
They all fared well. A few shingles missing off some houses. The government buildings are all intact. Just a few planks are missing off the public dock. But apart from that, everyone survived.
Minister for Grand Bahama, the Honorable Dr. Michael Darville, was a part of that NEMA assessment mission. In this report, Minister Darville outlines the government's efforts to bring restoration to the nation's second city. The island of Grand Bahama hit hard by ferocious Hurricane Matthew. The storm passed over the island as a Category 4 system Thursday night. Light poles snapped, trees were uprooted, and roofs blown off. That's the scene around the entire island. The Minister for Grand Bahama, Dr. Michael Darville, began his assessment of the destruction early Friday morning.
My heart is full because, I've weathered just about every storm here on the island of Grand Bahama, and I think this is the worst I've ever seen. One thing I would like to say to the residents of Grand Bahama is that God has been good to us despite the devastation that we see from West End to East End. I was up from about 6 o'clock this morning, after fending a very terrible tornado in the area where I live with massive damage. But as we began to hit the various aspects of the road, we began to truly understand what has happened here in Grand Bahama. Right now, we have all of the heavy equipment crews out, clearing all of the power lines, clearing the streets. But we are advising the residents of Grand Bahama to please stay indoors because we know that the majority of injury that take place in the storm is after the storm.
Many homes have been partially or entirely destroyed, and those residents are in need of immediate housing. The minister talks about the government's efforts to assist those who were displaced by the storm.
Those individuals, we must move very swiftly to find temporary shelter for those individuals, while a plan is put in place to restore the home and to repair the roofs. And so this assessment is very important because we must be able now to find a mechanism to bring some temporary relief while we work on the intermediate and long-term objectives to get the residents as well as the communities up and going, functioning effectively.
Grand Bahama has weathered many storms, but Matthew is being described as the worst to ever hit Grand Bahama. Minister Darville says a plan is in place to help residents who have been traumatized by Hurricane Matthew.
We're also about to establish a hotline here on the island for those individuals who may need to speak to someone who have experienced severe psychological trauma and stress as a result of what has taken place. Just coming into the building, we met a gentleman who lost everything, and that is a lot of emotional factors that are creating difficulties. And so it's important for us to put this hotline together where the residents of Grand Bahama can call in and be able to speak about their emotional aspect.
Hurricane Matthew put a beating on Grand Bahama's water and electricity supply. Efforts are currently underway to restore the water supply in parts of the island. The general manager for the Grand Bahama Utility Company, Geron Turnquest, joins us now. Thank you, Mr. Turnquest, for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Martin
Brown. Okay, talk about your restoration efforts to date.
Well, good evening, Grand Bahama. And first, let me just thank all the men and women of Grand Bahama Utility for their service and the good work that they have done to restoring and getting us this far. Our operations manager, Ezekiel Hall, our supervisors, Oriel Knowles, Dave Barr, and Michael Gray. To date, we have restored the Wellfield 6 power transmission main. We are presently now working on the water infrastructure itself. Same thing with the plant at W1. We are still in the process of getting the transmission main completed. But once that is completed, then the water infrastructure will have to be restored. And then we'll be pumping water into the city. As we speak, we are pumping water into the city, but that will improve over time. We must be patient because the water lines, all the water lines in the city of Freeport has to be filled, and that's going to take us time because we're talking about over 8 million gallons of water. So we are presently pumping water, but it's very slow and it's a very low pressure. But you will get water, and eventually those pockets that are not experiencing any water right now, you will see it come as we continue to pump into the system.
What percentage of the island would you say is receiving water as we speak?
Well, the majority of the folks, our customers, are in the city of Freeport. And so more than 60% of them now probably will be getting water. We do have areas that, like my understanding right now, that are still not getting water. I think Bahamas, Sunrise subdivision. As we pump again, be patient with us. We will get water into those areas. 8 Mile Rock. 8 Mile Rock, right now, because of the capacity, our storage capacity needs to build, we are not going to be able to get water to you at this time. We're looking, maybe by tomorrow we may get water into your area. But again, this all is a premise on we continue to pump, getting water into those areas. West of 8 Mile Rock, and specifically West End, we don't know, we have to do some assessment in that area before we can even give you any idea when we're going to be able to get West End up and running again. West End was devastated. A lot of our water lines was broken, so we anticipate a lot of leaks that we're going to have to be dealing with in that area. So again, to all of our customers, we know it's going to be a little slow, and we appreciate your patience. We want to get you the water as soon as we possibly can, but we got to understand that the infrastructure was compromised in some areas where we got trees that rooted up the service lines to your homes and so forth like that. So therefore, you will find that some people, and I've heard that some people are getting water in certain areas, or their neighbors getting water and they're not getting water. Well, there may be reasons for that, because maybe your line is broken, and so you need to inform us of that. Give us a call, and if you see any leaks or anything of that nature, please let us know, and we will get somebody out there to take care of it.
Do you have a timeline as to when water will be fully restored on the island, and also how can residents help assist in the conservation effort as you continue to restore water?
Well, I can't give a timeline right now on when we will be fully back to normal. I would say that really we wouldn't be back fully until we've got power back from Grand Bahama Power. When that is fully restored, then we will really be able to come up and be fully back in operation. But for those out there who if you see leaks, you have broken lines or anything of that on your service, please call us, let us know. We want to we ask you to conserve water at this time because we want our fellow residents, fellow neighbors, to to get water as well. We want this water to go, and it got to go all the way down to Hawksbill, all the way in that area. So, and we are pumping from a plant that is out in Lucaya. So we do want you to understand that we want you to be patient. We got issues of leaks and all that we got to have to take care of, so that we can ensure that the water will get into these areas and get in there as quickly as we possibly can.
And that was the general manager at the Grand Bahama Utility Company, Mr. Geron Turnquest, joining us live tonight. Thank you, sir. While work is underway to restore the city water supply, there are other entities in the community hoping to help fill that void. The Rotary Clubs have mobilized their water plant in Hawksbill and are providing residents with that precious commodity. Residents were queuing up in the Caravel Beach area for drinking water all day long, thanks to the Rotary Clubs on Grand Bahama. Rotary's Water Relief Foundation sprung into action immediately following the storm and has already provided thousands of residents with water. The plant is located near Hawksbill. However, water depots are now being stationed throughout the island.
We are very honored today to be able to do this, but we are also doing this with the help of Polymers, who's partnered with us, who are assisting us in making this venture happen. And so along with the Port Authority, who is giving us instructions on where we need to go to make sure that certain residents have water, we're here today, and so we are grateful. Our team, along with the GBPA, Ms. Nicole Colbrook, who is doing her part in making sure that all is touched and felt by just having water at this time.
President of the Rotary Club of Freeport, Darren Cooper, says Rotarians are working hard to ensure that residents around the island are provided with potable water.
We have been sending water to the eastern end of the island. We've sent 2 containers yesterday. We've made it as far as Gold Rock Creek, and we've sent 4 containers of water, a matter of fact 6 containers of water to the Western District.
He says there is a need for more assistance transporting water to the various districts.
One of the problems we find that we are having with sending water throughout the community is the use of truck. Truck is our biggest problem, so if we had more trucks on board, we would be able, with the help of Polymers, to fill these tanks and to send them throughout the island. If you'd like to assist us, please get a hold of Ms. Nicole Corbeck, GBPA, or you can get a hold of myself. You can meet us at check us out at the Rotary Water Plant there by Hawksbill Gas Station.
Residents Reverend Harrison Butler and Kaylisa Benaby commended the Rotary Clubs for their kind deed.
Give thanks to God first of all, and to them for the kind of love that they have for the community and going around. And I say, God bless the Rotary.
Just is so convenient. I'm out here trying to assist some of my neighbors, and because I have some elderly ones living through the corner, so I'm trying to get some water for them. And I think it's so convenient, and it's in a central area because it provides for Bahama and Caravel Beach, so it's great. It's a great thing.
Cooper says Rotary will provide potable water for as long as it is necessary. Well, there is a mad dash underway for ice. The major ice suppliers are down due to the power outage, and residents have been rushing to the smaller stores in search of ice. As Megan Shepard tells us, one small supplier has been trying to meet the demand, but that demand is simply overwhelming.
As residents continue in search for the necessities on the island, ice continues to be a challenge, demand far outweighing supply. One of the major ice suppliers on the island closed Monday as our teams passed by the establishment twice. Coral Springs on Queens Highway with a dedicated line of persons waiting for hours.
Even though the store has opened at 8, we find that at times there's like a line going all the way around the corner, sometimes probably 150 to 200 persons waiting even before the store is even able to open. And this has been the trend from Saturday. The biggest challenge that we face so far is actually to try and meet the demand, because the machines can only put out so much, and the fact is we would love to meet the need, but the machines are only producing so much, and so that not to put the pressure on the machine so that they continue to function, at times we're forced to turn people away, even though that is not what this establishment is about. We want to meet the need, we want to be able to provide the ice and the water that is much needed in the community.
Owner of Sunrise Drinking Water, Pastor Frank Hagan, says the demand has been tremendous. The establishment, located on Aberdeen Drive in South Bahama, has been serving as a blessing to many.
I feel sorry as a pastor for the people trying to get water and ice. We have a machine that does ice, but of course we can't do the volume that they need. And there's a lot of frustration. And so we try to give everybody something when they come in, at least 10-pound bag of ice and got the water, but the ice is the problem. So perhaps down the road you get bigger supplies. But I'm wondering about the other companies. You know, that sort of take pressure off of the other Bahamians who are trying to get water.
Now, as the larger companies face challenges trying to meet the demand of the community, Pastor Hagan says it is time for the small business community to step up.
I've been advocating for years. We should be basically, the small businesses actually are going to be the lifeline of any island, particularly when the big companies who really have the leverage that they've been having, if something happens to them, you know, then it falls on the small operators, and that's what's been happening to all of the small operators here in Grand Bahama. You know, so hopefully I get some more money. I'll invest in some big equipment.
Megan Shepard, ZNS Network News.
When it comes to the electricity, relief may be a distance away. More than 700 power lines are down, and there are countless broken poles throughout the community. While there are no projections as to when the island will be fully restored, some much-needed help arrived on Grand Bahama. They will assist local work crews on the island. Shashina Roll has that story.
We are going to bring every resource we can to bear from across Emira to make this work, and we'll get it done. We will get it done.
President and CEO of the Grand Bahama Power Company, Sarah McDonald, says while the entire island of Grand Bahama continues to be without power, residents can be assured that their work crews are working non-stop to get some type of order restored to this island.
It didn't take long for us to realize that what we were facing was not something we could do by ourselves. So fortunately, Emira is a large company, and part of that is Tampa Electric. So Tampa Electric, even though the East Coast was hit by Hurricane Matthew, same as us, not quite as badly, they were able to provide us with crews almost immediately.
On Sunday afternoon, it was a sight for sore eyes as heavy trucks and workers from GB Power's counterpart, Tampa Electric, arrived on Grand Bahama.
We have 36 guys here, 10 crews, 30 different pieces of equipment. You can see them. We've got boom trucks, crane, digger derricks. We got a mobile unit. And the guys are just so excited to be here to help and to get this island back and energized.
Hurricane Matthew has caused total devastation on this island. McDonald says her local team had an opportunity to assess the damage after the storm, and its impact is significant.
What's been the most horrific is the devastation on our transmission and distribution. So we've done our full inspections and done the damage assessment, and it's 300 transmission poles, 70-foot poles, 300, and there are probably at least 1,000 poles on our distribution system, which is the ones that go out to individual customers. That's huge. We have poles. We don't have that many poles, but Tampa Electric is bringing us poles. So it's going to take time, and I know customers are asking. We've focused on trying to get the well fields back up because we know water is critical, so our teams have been fully working on that, and also clearing the roads so that when we are out doing our repairs, that we can actually get to them.
She says undoubtedly this storm has left behind even more destruction than Hurricane Jane, one of the worst storms to hit Grand Bahama in recent time. And of course, the question on everyone's mind is, when will power be restored to the entire island?
It's very difficult to say, but because we're still, the fact that we went to the well fields and we thought it would be something we could finish, in not too long, and 30 poles down on the well field alone. That's huge. And so I can't say yet. We're going to have a full plan, hopefully by end of day today, and we'll start sharing with the public sort of estimates. But with crews like this, at least something will start. We'd love to get parts of the island started, but some of the lines are the one I'm on. They're in bad shape. And it's just going to take time. And so again, we just ask people to be patient, and we're going to do everything we can.
Shashina Roll, ZNS Network News.
Now, the Grand Bahama Power Company's partners in Maine and Nova Scotia are also set to travel to Grand Bahama sometime this week to assist in the restoration efforts. Stay with us, there's more news after this.